This video will discuss recreational drug use that some people may find disturbing. In no way do I endorse the use of illicit substances, but I believe they are interesting topics and worth discussing for the purposes of both education and harm reduction. Even though attainable through legal channels, DXM can still be dangerous and addictive. Please take care of yourselves. I thought DXM would be a good topic for a video, as I always saw it as kinda the older brother of DPH, which my last video was on. They're very, very different experiences, but they're both quite easy to get over the counter and fall into the rare category of what you might call legal psychoactive drugs. Since they're so easy to get, they seem to be categorized sometimes as a sort of kiddie drug for people who haven't tried real drugs yet or just want to try something for fun. That mentality is weird to me. It's almost elitist in a really weird way, if that makes sense at all. But my main problem with that mentality is it seemingly diminishes the potential addictive nature of the drugs and the dangers that could come alongside them. DXM is Dextromethorphan, a cough medicine in lower doses and a dissociative hallucinogen in higher doses. It produces effects that are sometimes compared to ketamine. Most commonly sold in the forms of cough syrups or gel cap pills. Products over the counter will typically contain dextromethorphan hydrobromide or dextromethorphan polystyrex, or polystyrex, I don't really know. Very often, over-the-counter cough syrups or pills containing dextromethorphan will also have something else in them that typically makes you throw up if you take too much of it. The most common one I know of is called guaifenesin. If doing DXM recreationally, it's very important to avoid any, as these can have adverse effects and affect your stomach very negatively, as DXM can already do itself. In this section, I want to briefly run over the main common types of DXM and the common methods of consumption. In my experience, the most common method of consumption is dextromethorphan hydrobromide. I can't find as much about it currently, but my past anecdotal research, I remember it being something like 70% DXM and 30% bromide. Any form of DXM can hurt your stomach very badly, and the bromide typically comes in gel cap pills or cough syrups that can hurt your stomach even more. The other type that I mentioned already, DXM polystyrex, is another type of DXM that typically runs under the brand name of Delsym. After browsing the DXM communities a lot more, it seems that the rule of thumb is that DXM polystyrex is about half as strong as dextromethorphan hydrobromide, but it lasts about twice as long. This seems pretty accurate from a friend told me. There is more pure forms of DXM that you can get online or extract yourself, but I'm not going to go too in-depth on those. I just know that there was one brand called RoboCough that my friends used to buy from because you could get pills of dextromethorphan that didn't have hydrobromide in them. But according to my friends, this might have even hurt their stomachs even more, so it kind of depends. I do remember reading at one point that DXM is quite heavy on your liver, and I also found that it affects you very similar to alcohol does with food. By this, I mean that if you don't eat a decent amount the day that you plan on doing this, you're gonna fucking throw up. And in some cases, you might just throw up all of the stuff that you already ingested and waste all of it. Congratulations, you fucking idiot! Anyways, this is getting too self-incriminating. Time to go on to the next section. Straight off of psychonautwiki.org, one of my favorite harm reduction-based drug resources, the subjective effects of DXM include dissociation, time distortion, bodily hallucinations, immersion enhancement, motor control loss, euphoria, and ego loss. Lower doses tend to provide an alcohol-like intoxication, while higher doses produce more dissociative effects similar to ketamine. There's a few other side effects, and some are a little more negative, like a fast heart rate or heavy nausea. But I'm not going to go into all of them right now, so I kind of want to focus on some, like the robo-walk. This is the funniest and most interesting effect of DXM to me. Honestly, I never really could figure out a way to put it into words perfectly, but the website that I'm reading right now on wiki.tripsit.me about DXM has a pretty interesting segment on it that I'll just read. The robo-walk feels like all of the muscles in your body are activated at once, and while strange to the observer, it's not painful to the user. You can still walk, but detailed coordination such as running, jumping, or maneuvering around furniture becomes much harder, if not impossible. However, when you start getting the effects of robo-walk, you really wouldn't want to be moving around anyway. The best thing to do is get a good pair of headphones, turn off the lights, close your eyes, and let your mind wander. I can't really find much footage of the robo-walk except for people just kind of messing around, and it's not very noticeable. So it seems like something that's a little bit more in your head, and after reading some Reddit posts on it, these guys describe it really well. Someone said it feels like you got sea legs, like you're trying to walk on a ship that's getting beaten by waves, when every step feels like you could be knocked one way or another. Someone else said they feel like they can't tell how far their feet are from the ground when they're taking a step, so they try to adjust, and then they end up walking like crap. If I had to describe it, I would say it really just messes with your muscle memory and makes everything that you're used to doing without even thinking about it just a little different. One really interesting thing about DXM is how at different doses, there's sort of different effects, and the people who use it have classified these into There's 4 main plateaus to a DXM trip, and then there's one extra that you should never aim for. The first 2 plateaus are a little bit more mild and are more akin to, say, a little bit of an alcohol buzz. But let's go in depth on each one using this wiki from tripsit.me. The first plateau is what we call boring. It's the most mild and less dissociative than the others by a lot. The second plateau is a little bit more intense, with music having a little bit more depth to it than normal. But it's actually pretty similar to just being kind of drunk. Most people who do DXM will never go above the second plateau, as it gets a lot more intense and dissociative the further you go up. In the third and fourth plateaus, it's no longer really considered a social drug because you might not even function that great in social situations. It's more sedating, and this is typically when that sort of robo-walk kicks in, or losing a little bit of your normal muscle memory. This is also where time distortion becomes very pronounced. You could be playing a game for like 10 minutes and feel like you just played like 2 hours of it. This is when the trip can get a little bit more introspective, and you may start to think about your life or end up staring at yourself in the mirror for a while. The fourth plateau is by far the most intense and kind of akin to a K-hole. There's extremely vivid hallucinations at this point and lots of closed-eye visuals. Post-trip amnesia gets pretty common at this point too, so a lot of people have trouble remembering their experiences. The last plateau I'll briefly talk about is called Plateau Sigma. According to Tripsit, it's named this because it affects your sigma receptors when you're in it, and it only happens when you binge. This means you have to take DXM a bunch of different times in a row. There's not that much information about Plateau Sigma, but almost all of it says that it's a hellish introspective nightmare that you don't want to experience. Dextromethorphan is a substance with very, very interesting effects, and probably one of the most interesting headspaces of any drugs I know about. But that doesn't mean it's for everyone. So one of the last things I want to talk about is DXM can be fun, but something that I value more than fun is safety. Never take any substances at a potential detriment to your own health. Always do your research first. If you're buying stuff off the street, always use test kits and just be smart. Be safe. By no means do I make this video to endorse that other people do DXM, but I want to list off a few things that can be harmful when combined with DXM. Oh, by the way, did I say a few? There's actually a lot of negative interactions here, and I'd say some of the main ones are stimulants, SSRIs, which are antidepressants like Lexapro and Zoloft, Prozac, if you're on antipsychotics or mood stabilizers, if you're on pain medications or opioids. These all can be dangerous interactions. An important thing that I might talk about more depth in future videos is called serotonin syndrome, where if you take 2 drugs that boost your serotonin levels too much, you can even potentially die from the effects of it. I'm not going to list all of them, but always practice harm reduction and err on the safe side. And with that, I think I hit almost all the points I wanted to, except for the ones that I'll inevitably remember once I post this. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This is Bryce signing off. I hope you have a wonderful night.